Hello. How's everyone doing today? It is the end of the second week of February 2024. Time for another reading update. So, you know how I said I was going to read 20 books I already have? Before I read books that I don't have, or before I acquire books that I don't already have. Yeah, something like that. There's not even any fine print for this one. February is just, reading books according to my mood or something. I don't know. It certainly has not been a success in the read what you own category. However, in every other sense of the word, it's been a very successful week. I'll put it that way. And a very successful year so far. I've almost gotten to 50 books this year. Almost. And I've been doing some longer books. So it's going to take a little longer to actually hit 50. I'm currently listening to Gone with the Wind, which is going to take a while. So, yeah, I'm at 48 books right now. I've finished 48 books in 2024. Yeah. Yeah, so it's been a successful year, even if the read what you own part of the year has been a little bit questionable. It has been questionable. And I've only finished 2 print books. So these are the 2 print books I've actually completed in the past week. I finished the Girl on the Train, which was okay. Not a 5-star book for me. But, not terrible. Yeah, on Goodreads I gave it 4 stars, so not terrible. And then Life Class by Pat Barker. Life Class I actually listened to as an audiobook, but I knew I had it in print. I just didn't feel like going and getting it. And it didn't take very long in audio, so it was good. And I enjoyed it. It reminded me quite a bit of some of Evelyn Waugh's books. So if you like those stories, kind of coming to terms with wartime and civilian versus, war sort of lifestyles. This one also is taking on kind of the role of art in wartime society. Is art still important when we're at war? And if not, why not? And what does that say about art? Are we just fooling ourselves that art matters at all? And if not, if art does matter when we're not at war, then what reasoning is there that changes when it's wartime? Shouldn't art be just as important when we're at war as it is when we're at peace? So all of that is in here, along with a lot of gender stuff. We have 3 people who are all in a life drawing class, drawing naked people. One of these people is a woman. And we start out seeing how her 2 male friends treat her. And one of them is an absolute asshole. So I was pleased that he didn't feature too heavily in the rest of the book. He does come back, and he's still there. And this is one of those books that definitely follows the assholes don't necessarily die horrible deaths theory. So the asshole doesn't actually die horribly by the end of the book, unfortunately. Yeah. So, anyway, of these 2, Life Class is probably my favorite. But I read a lot of books that I do not have in print form because I listen to them as audiobooks. Yeah, I'm supposed to not be doing so many audiobooks, and that was kind of the goal, was to read print books. Yeah, so audiobooks I finished An Astronomer in Love by Antoine Laurent. I've finished Our Nig, or Sketches from the Life of a Free Black by Harriet E. Wilson. Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. The Complaints by Ian Rankin. Alcatraz versus the Scrivener's Bones by Brandon Sanderson. My Murder by Kate Williams. The Librarian of Crooked Lane by C.J. Archer. Babel by R.F. Kuang. And Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. So that is all the audiobooks I've finished in the last week. Yeah. So, out of those audiobooks, which was my favorite? Well, Babel was definitely a top favorite for this week. I won't talk too much about it because it is a host favorite for the Battle of the Girl Bands, which means a lot of people are actively reading it right now. And I don't want to spoil anything of it while so many people are reading this book. But I will say that Babel is really good. I will also say that the whole pronunciation thing, yeah, it's Babel. There's accents where it may sound a little bit less like that, but it is Babel. The Tower of Babel. The word Babel has two B's in it, in the middle. So B-A-B-B, not B-A-B. So that's my 2 cents anyway on the pronunciation of this book. It's definitely a book based around the concept of the Tower of Babel, but a very much less Christian version of the Tower of Babel. If you're looking for a biblical retelling, this is not that. This is something that the modern subgenre naming would call dark academia. So it's got magic, it's got young people going to school for magic that has dark and sinister tones to it. And yeah, it's definitely a cerebral book. I really enjoyed it. I have several degrees in several subjects, and I have formally studied 4 or 5 languages. Not to fluency, but enough that I'm at least comfortable with names and some words in those languages still. And I love languages. So a book that uses lots of foreign words throughout the book in multiple languages, I was thrilled. Yeah. And I've definitely done a lot of reading about China, and there was a lot about China and Chinese history and culture. So there was a lot in this book that, for me specifically, it was a really good fit. But there have been quite a few people that have found it difficult or slow or just not a good fit. So it's not something that's for everybody. it says something that I really loved it, and I finished almost 50 books, and we're in the second week of February. So I'm a very specialized type of reader. And not everybody is doing that. That is a lifestyle that most people don't have the obsessiveness in reading books to do that. Yeah. So, that's probably my favorite book of the month so far. And the joining the Battle of the Girl Bands thing, probably my favorite part so far of my Battle of the Girl Bands adventure is that I had to read Babel this month to get extra points for that game. So I would still have gotten to it eventually. Turns out my sister has a print copy that our other sister sent her, and so eventually I would get to it anyway, because we all eventually read all of the books that show up in our collections. But I would probably have not gotten to it for a very long time. So I'm glad that I got to it early, and that it happened to be available as an audiobook that I could listen to streaming through our library. Most of the other books that are specifically selected for this game, they're just not available right now. There's so many holds that I'd be waiting for months just to access any one of them. So it was just chance that was the one that I could actually get to. So that was fun. My second favorite was probably Horror Store, which I know someone I watch was talking about it last year. It might have been Sandy from Ms. Reads a Lot. I think it might have been her. I don't know. If Sandy hasn't read it, you didn't hear it from me. But yeah, somebody last year read it, and it was surprisingly good and really funny. And it is surprisingly good and really funny. And while I listened to it as an audiobook, and it is really good as an audiobook, I've seen pictures of the print book. This is one where I probably will get the print copy to keep just because it's so adorably cute. It's like an IKEA catalog and really cute, but it's a horror story, and it definitely is horror. If you are easily triggered by things like being buried alive or tortured or things like that, then what are you doing reading horror, really? But if you're reading a horror book to begin with, I feel like trigger warnings are maybe less helpful. We'll put it that way. But in any case, yes, it is a horror story. As cute as it is still gruesome and dark. And it kind of has a happy ending at the end, sort of. Yeah, it was pretty good. And I think my third favorite was probably The Complaints by Ian Rankin. It's book 1 of the Malcolm Fox series, which according to Goodreads, there are 2. I'm hoping that means that it's a continuing series, because I really liked that one. Now I have to see if Ian Rankin is still alive, which I'm guessing he's not that old, but I guess that's relative. He looks like he's still alive. Doesn't say he died yet, so yeah, he's gotta be still alive. Yeah, so Ian Rankin hopefully is writing more in this series, because I want to read them. He'd better be. I'll put it that way. Um, so the complaints is about a guy, Malcolm Fox, who works in the department that investigates cops that have been suspected of something. So if there's a complaint against a particular cop, the complaints division checks that complaint out. And of course, they're not really liked by any of the other cops. They're the ones that, find dirty cops and punish them. So they're investigating some, crime ring that seems to connect to cops, and it's they keep running into hurdles because the cops that are not the bad guys still don't want to help the complaints division. So they don't get any support from any of their colleagues. Even though they are all colleagues, they get a lot of flack for being in their department. And I'm wondering if that's the way it is in real life in most departments, or in most, police precincts or whatever. I don't know if they even have a specific division for that in most police systems, but I would imagine there's got to be kind of the watchdog sort of things. But this was set in Britain, so a little bit different structure anyway, I think. I don't remember, actually. Is it set in Britain? Yeah. Anyway, I will look up whether it's set in Britain now. I've read so many thrillers. Is it set in Britain? The description doesn't say anything. Okay, well, then we'll pretend that we don't know at all where it's set and go from there. Alright. So anyway, Astronomer in Love was cute. A bit on the light romance side. Still general fiction, but it's following an astronomer in the 1700s who has his own little love story going on, and he's obsessed with imaging the transit of Venus across the sun and making measurements of it. It's something that you don't see very regularly. It doesn't happen all the time. So he has 2 opportunities in his lifetime to see the transit of Venus. The first time, something happens, he doesn't see it. The second time, I'll let you find out what happens for the second one. It's kind of funny. Anyway, the telescope that this guy uses ends up in an apartment that our modern guy rents the apartment and finds this telescope, and I think it's in his apartment. But anyway, he gets this telescope that belonged to the older guy. And our modern guy is not an astronomer exactly, but he's interested enough that when he finds the telescope, he doesn't want to sell it. He wants to, try it out. So he gets it set up and learns how to use it and is watching the sky, that kind of stuff. There's a love story on that end too, and there's some cheesy bits near the end playing on the concept of the transit of Venus. There's some kind of Scooby-Doo-esque, oh my goodness, bits where there's just total randomness that reminds me actually of a lot of French movies I've seen. because I did study French. So that was one of my languages. And we used to have to watch these French movies with the subtitles. And there are a lot of quirky French movies where random stuff happens. And then it turns out that some of that random stuff is really important later on in the story in ways that you couldn't predict beforehand. It's that kind of book. So if you like watching French movies with subtitles or without subtitles, you might like this book. It's very much like that. So yeah, that's the books that I read this past week. The rest of them were good. The Alcatraz versus the Scrivener's Bones is book 2. Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians I finished last week. They're cute. I have the fourth book in print. So I will be getting the third book as an audiobook in March at this point, probably. I might have gotten it already, but if I haven't already got it on my account, I've run out of Hoopla checkouts. So if I don't already have it, I won't be listening to it till March. But if I was smart about it, and I won't worry about checking it now because I'll let you know next week if I do get to it. Because if I do have it, I'll probably listen to it when I'm done with Gone with the Wind or after something else long and boring. Not that I'm saying Gone with the Wind is long and boring. It might be. It is long. But we don't know about boring yet. I've only gotten through chapter 2 so far. Once I get through the first 3 in the Alcatraz series, then I can go on to book 4, which I have in print. So that one I don't have to worry about running out of slots in Hoopla because I already have it. Which is why I'm doing that series, because that actually is what I consider a legitimate read what you own gray area. I have book 4 on my shelf. I won't read them out of order. Therefore, books 1 through 3 are required in order to be able to read what I own on the shelf. I don't know. Definitely not something everybody's rules allows, but I'm allowing it and probably counting those first 3 books because they're kind of there in spirit with the fact that I have book 4. So I would have to own them in order to get to book 4 unless I allow it anyway. So, which makes it a little better. It makes it so that instead of reading 5 books that count for the Read What You Own challenge, I've read 9 in February. Did I get other books in February that I didn't already own? Yes. Have I gotten anywhere near 20 that I've read that I already own? No. And I'm not really worried about it because Battle of the Girl Bands is definitely on. And I've been having fun with it. This, and it's 2 sides. There's another, there's more. These are all the prompts for all the different teams and their prompts, so you can steal them for extra points. And I've been marking them off as I read them. I have stolen 12 so far prompts, which is doing really well. It means I've read 12 books in addition to the 4 books for my team's prompts that I had to read to be able to unlock the stealing prompts power. So 16 books for this game so far. And I've got more lined up. So I've been busy during the last audiobook. These are all the books that I've got for the rest of the Team Destiny's Child prompts. Now remember, I only read 4 Team Destiny's Child prompts so far because once you hit that 4th one that you've finished, you've submitted. At that point, you have the power to steal. And when you steal prompts from the other teams, you get double points for those. So the ones from my own team, I don't get double points for those, which means that there's actually more points available, for the most part, reading the other team's prompts first. At some point, that's no longer true. Some of the doubled points are still not very high. So I will be diving into this stack. I've got book set in Texas, Bloodroot by Susan Wittig Albert. This is from the China Bales series, and these are all Texas. So if anybody is looking for books set in Texas, those are really good. It's a murder mystery series. The chick who is doing all the sleuthing is a shop owner. She and her friend have neighboring shops, and there's a lot of stuff about plants and herb lore and stuff like that. Gift of Rain is an anticipated read, I think is the prompt, because I really liked the other book I read by this author last month. Anyway, I really liked the book that I read already by this author. It was very good. So, yes, I am looking forward to reading that book. I've read a whole couple, 2 or 3 pages when I picked it up before and got distracted. So, I basically am starting over. But now I know that author is really good. An intimidating read. Capital, Volume 1 by Karl Marx. Yes, I've read it before. I was a grad student when I read it before. I haven't been a grad student for a while, so it is intimidating. It's really, really fat. So, yeah. A book that I have not seen positive reviews for. I've seen no reviews for this. Khrushchev's Russia. By Edward Crankshaw. It's a book about Russia, very dated, but these are kind of fun for giving you a historical perspective on what people thought at the time about what was going on and what might happen next. I've read things like that about China before, so. BIPOC author for our team. This is Blueskin Gods by S.J. Sindhu. And the other prompt that I have not finished yet is book I'm considering getting rid of. This is one I got from the free shelf at the library last year. Low Profile by Nick Oldham. I haven't read any Oldham yet. This is one I wasn't really enthusiastic about when I grabbed it, but I just wanted to pick up some free mysteries and just try some new authors. I haven't really thought about it since, so it seemed like a good candidate for that one. So those are the Team Destiny's Child prompt books that I've pulled that I might get to this month. Alright. Then this is Spice Girls. I only have 3 prompts left in Spice Girls. Out of their 10, I finished 7. So I still need to do one with sport in it. And what's more sporty than horse racing? Dick Francis books have horse racing in them almost all the time. Sometimes not. Sometimes they're just piloting. But this is definitely horse racing. It's called Wild Horses. That one actually is not for a lot of points. That one actually is less of a priority than some from my own team. A book from a genre I don't normally read. So far, this is my choice. This is actually one I just got as a Goodreads giveaway. It is Christian fiction. Historical Christian fiction. I was recommended this author by people connected with my mother's church, which I'm an atheist, and I'm not sure exactly what their motives were. So this one I'm a bit apprehensive about. But it looks good. If I didn't know already that it's supposed to be Christian fiction from the blurb in the ad for this giveaway, and from the fact that it was recommended by who it was recommended by, I might pick it up just because it looks like historical fiction and it could be cool. So, we'll see. If I decide to DNF this book before I'm 50% in, I do have another candidate for that prompt. I do have Maid in Arms. This is a romance novel by Andre Norton, writing as Enid Cushing. So, it is still Andre Norton, but under a different name, and historical romance. Either one of these is definitely not a genre I read, so that works. And then a book I've considered getting rid of, Purity by Jonathan Franzen. I got it from the dollar store when they were still $1. And I do like Jonathan Franzen. Just, I've not been really drawn to that book since I got it. And actually, I've been struggling through it. I got through maybe 10% last month. Maybe. So, I'm going to really just need to read it when I'm bored and just need something to stare at. It might work. And then in Cheetah Girls, the first prompt is a cat. There's the cat. Second prompt is an animal on the cover. So we got a bird. That's The Real Macaw by Donna Andrews. The one before it was The Powerful Truth by Miranda James. Then we have Set in New York, Dead Letters by Kate Dolan Leach. This is set in upstate New York. The prompt does not say New York City, it says New York. This is New York. Alright. Then we have the BIPOC author. This one is going to be Miyako Kawakami, Breasts and Eggs. And then starts with C, Corpse at the Crystal Palace by Carola Dunn. We have Getting Rid, Sources of Chinese Tradition, which has been limping along. I've made some progress this month, but not a lot. The whole point of the project doing the 24 tomes is that I was considering getting rid of them. So that works very well for that prompt. Alright, and then at the risk of making a long video, I'm only doing one video a week for the most part this month, so it's not terrible. And I only have 9 more books to show you guys, so not too bad. I won't go too far on talking about these ones. This one has a doctor in it. It is, it's the doctor. It's obviously a doctor in it. That one is Combat Magics. With the lady doctor. I don't remember which number she is. Anyway, we have anticipated read, a highly anticipated read. Susan Wittig Albert again. This one is The Darling Dahlias and the Voodoo Lily, which I've only just barely started, but not because I don't like it. I anticipated reading this series enough that when I start reading it, I'm like, I want to savor it, but I don't. I want to savor it. I don't do that, so I just need to read this book. Yeah, that'll be really good. A book that reminds you of a favorite book. Tales of the Peculiar. I really liked the first book in the Ransom Riggs series. Anyway, so this is actually the book that the kids in the other books are reading from. So he wrote it and published it as a separate book so we can read it. And yeah. There's also an audiobook that's in this list that I don't have in print with me. It's somewhere. I do have it in print. I am listening to Gone with the Wind for Seton, Georgia. Yeah. I do need to read Gone with the Wind sometime. It's on the Boxall's 1001 Books You Must Read Before You Die list. So it's already on my list of books I should be reading. And I haven't done a long classic this month. I'm almost out of long classics from the authors I've been reading, so I'm going to have to dive into Trollope soon. Yeah. A book by an author that I just liked a book from. So I didn't like Wolf Hall, and this is book 2 of that series, which I need to read because it's on book lists. So Bring Up the Bodies is one that I'm supposed to be reading because it's on lists. And I'm a little apprehensive about this one because I did not like book 1, but this is so much shorter. I'm hoping it's better. And we have a BIPOC and LGBTQ author, The Vanished Birds by Simon Jimenez. Then we have Starts with T, Touch Not the Cat by Mary Stewart. I love this title. And then we have book you're getting rid of, The Dutchman by Mon Myers. This is one I got from a free shelf a while back. And I read the first page or two and I was like, did they edit this book? And I might have just been in a bad mood. So I'll try it again and see how it goes. And then I was reading This Rough Magic by Mary Stewart. I'm not in the mood for it. I'm just not. It's not a long book. It's not a terrible book. I'm just not getting anywhere with it. And this is another book I got this year as a Goodreads giveaway. It has the word this in the title, so I'll do this book instead. Because that's for the no bad, this, or creep in the title. So everyone on this train is a suspect. By Benjamin Stevenson. So those are the books that I have left on my TBR for this month. I also do have 2 whole books that are not for the Battle of the Girl Bands that are still on my TBR for this month. I have Islands, which is so close to done. So if I read it a little bit more, it'll be done. But I haven't figured out how it fits in any prompt. So I'm just going to have to finish it anyway. And then we have 11/22/63. I might be able to work this in. I think there might actually be a doctor in it. So if I really wanted to, I could work it in. I could also say that it's an anticipated read. I mean, there are things I could use it for. So when I finish it, if I finish it in time, it might be going for a prompt. But it's not the one I pulled for any particular prompt. So, anyway, those are my books that I'm going to be focusing on for the rest of the month. I do still have a few books for the folklore February that I might try to get to, but they are much less a priority right now than the books I just showed you, because this is for points, and my team is the smallest team, and we're still last in the rankings right now. We might have moved up a little bit, but yeah, we're the underdogs here. So Since this is for points, these are the priority. And I did incorporate quite a few books from the other things I was working on this month into these books. So there are books with cats on them or in them, and there is some folklore mixed in. So it's not terrible, and I did manage to work in both of the tome projects into this stack. So I did pretty well making it all line up. Now it's just a matter of reading them and finishing them. I have a few more audiobooks as well that I might swap in place of some of these. But I am going to try to actually read print books as much as I can make myself do. So it's anyone's guess how many of these books will be finished and how many of the audiobooks will be finished by the end of the month. And hopefully you guys are having a successful reading month as well. I don't know if I keep hoping that my hair color will show up a little better, but I don't know if it's and my other light just makes everything look a little bit weirdly blue. Anyway, actually I went to work at our food pantry twice since I did my hair, and everybody's like, did you cut your hair? Like, my hair is like dark wine red now. Surely you guys didn't think it was that color before. But yeah, everybody just thinks I had my hair cut, which I think is really funny. Like, yes, that is what's different, of course. Anyway, one of these days the lighting will be just right, and hopefully it'll still be the color it is. It's the color of like a good burgundy wine. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm definitely doing my hair this color again. And one of these days, maybe I'll do an extra video later this week and show off some of the cool antiques that we've been collecting. Because I talk about it in reading sprints every so often when I bring home cool stuff. But we do thrift store shopping a lot. It's one of the things where my housemates and I definitely click. And we bring home all sorts of cool stuff. And then I go online and identify things. So I've been doing that a lot this past couple weeks. So I'll do a video in a couple days, maybe talk about some books. I'm going to do a separate video talking specifically about Sapiens. So that will be in addition to this video. I said I was going to do it during this video, but this is already a long one. And I'm not going to make folks listen through the whole thing just to get to talking about Sapiens. So I'll do that separately. And then I'll do a video on the cool stuff I've collected. And maybe I'll combine that with the genre blanket. So let me know in the comments if you've read any of the books I've talked about today. How are you doing with your reading so far this month? Are you doing Battle of the Girl Bands? Are you on my team? And I will talk to you again soon. If you're on reading sprints, I will see you in reading sprints soonish. And I'll talk to you again soonish. Bye!